Shall we go on where we left off yesterday? Would that be? Huh? We must go through it whether you like it or not. Sorry. We were asking how does it happen that the deep layers hidden in the consciousness be exposed? That was the question we were asking, and I'm afraid we didn't go into it completely. Whether it is through dreams, through attention, through awareness, through analysis, and so on. I don't know how far you have gone into it with it, about it yourself since yesterday. So can we discuss it, open it up?
Sir, I don't think we exhausted the question of dreams.
We are coming to that, sir. We haven't even touched it. We just touched it yesterday. You know, this is a very serious matter, all this. I don't know how lightly you take it. What we are discussing is very, very serious, because once you go into all this, you can't just play with it. Either you go to the very end of it or don't touch it. Right? Please, I really mean it. Either you go to the very end of it or don't touch it at all. You can't take little bits of it and say, I'll use this. Either you go from the beginning to the end or don't begin at all. Please. One can see that one can non-analytically observe the superficial conditioning. We are using the word conditioning to explain all that we discussed yesterday, so that we don't have to go all over it again. But it becomes extremely subtle and arduous to explore the hidden things of life. How does one do this? The concealed motives, concealed drives, ambitions, and all the destructive, deteriorating factors that lie in the unconscious, deep down.
When you're involved in something, the hidden is apt to come out when you're involved.
When you are involved, Dr. Weininger says, they come out. So you must, according to him, commit yourself, involve yourself in some action in order the hidden parts of one's being are exposed. That is, commit yourself in some activity, and through that activity, watch your own responses, and these responses will be from the very deep layers. That means one depends on action, on a commitment, on an involvement in some activity. Right, sir?
Or in a relationship.
In some relationship. What do you, I don't know what you all feel. Please, sir, don't let me talk.
Well, it seems to me that I don't know if the wording is quite right, or the way it's being. It's because it sounds like we have to do something in order to, but to me it seems like we're relating all the time, and when we, and I don't know exactly understand this idea of commitment, but if what you mean by commitment, but if you usually, I think, or we resist commitment. In other words, life is commitment, and I think in the sense we're talking about, and that we resist commitment because of those, because of what's the hidden, because of the hidden, and that is that you don't say I'm going to commit myself. You just are aware of relationships from moment to moment. You're aware of relationship of everything. And that is commitment, in a way.
This is. Are you saying, sir, that all life being relationship, living is relationship, and therefore you're already committed?
This is what I mean. Yeah,
Involved.
In that sense.
Yeah.
Not,
You're already involved, and there it is.
But we hide from it.
Huh?
We sort of hide from it, withdraw from it.
And that's when you can see the hidden, though. As you see you're hiding, you see that's the hidden.
What is it we are discussing? I like to be clear about it once again.
Aren't we discussing resistance to, and we called resistance the hidden thing? We're just the what do we call it? The unconscious, the things that prevent us from relating, from.
I think we're talking about the revelation of the unconscious, and whether one needs to be committed to any particular action or to be involved in activity in order to see oneself.
Could we be talking about simply those parts of our being that we're just not aware of? For instance, I'm in a certain situation and I start behaving in a certain manner, and I'm not at all aware of how I'm behaving. I'm almost asleep to it. And then I can think that I'm aware by all of a sudden talking to myself and pretend like I'm watching. But actually, all the actions, if you saw them in a mirror, you wouldn't be aware that you're doing them. And that I notice when I go through a day oftentimes that my mind tends to concentrate on things. And as it starts to concentrate things and starts to screen out other things and just starts to focus itself on one particular goal or one particular activity, that I lose awareness of sound and sight and all sorts of activity that's happening around me. And even I lose awareness of how I'm actually behaving in that situation. So my mind is so set on a certain thing that it's occupied with. I'm unaware of how I'm acting. He's asleep.
Which I think might raise the question as whether activity is actually a distraction rather than a process of self-revelation.
Isn't life action? Life is action. I mean, activity, if we think of it as apart from something we do, but we act all the time. We are acting. That's part of the problem, I think, is when we're separating action is something that we do, not that we are action.
Oh, isn't it true that action may come out of conflict, or it may come out of wholeness? And if it comes out of conflict, then there are parts of us of which we're not aware.
But we see it. We are aware of it the minute we act, the minute it comes up. You can feel resistance. You can feel it. You can feel resistances.
Yeah, but
You
your
have to name it.
action can sometimes be a way of shutting out, of denying some part of us.
But then you're aware of it.
Of the part that's denied?
Because, well, as it seems to me, whenever we act in order to go somewhere else than where we are, then there's a resistance because you're torn. I'm always torn between. I can feel it the minute that I'm acting when I'm not acting in accord with what you say, wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it, and then you're aware of resistance.
So what we were discussing yesterday afternoon, that one of the fragments, because we are broken up, one of the fragments assumes the responsibility of the actor, of the censor, the one who resists and dominates other fragments of which we are made up. We were asking yesterday, how does it happen to observe without the censor? To observe all the many fragments, not let one fragment assume the superiority over the others, but to observe. In this observation, we were saying, there is no censor, no resistance, no the past, with all its knowledge and tradition and experience. That's what we were saying yesterday, to which we all not agreed. We saw what is involved in it. And this, we said, is attention. Right? We are saying what we do. This we call attention. In this attention, there is no concentration. Concentration being form of resistance, exclusion. Building wall against the other. Thoughts, impulses, and so on. And we said that's fairly easy to do superficially. It's fairly easy to observe one's nationalistic idiocy outwardly and wipe it out. But we were inquiring into the more or deeper layers of this whole structure which is called the me. We're asking ourselves whether these layers can be exposed without analysis. Because we said analysis implies time. And there are God knows how many layers one has, and you take an infinite number of days, years, and by the end of it one is ready for the grave. So we said, is there a perception which sets aside or which is not involved in time, in analysis, in resistance or judgment? That's what we said.
We also said that any act of description is an act
Oh
of
yes,
censorship.
of course. Any act of description, explanation, is not the thing described or explained. So the word is not the thing. That's what we said. Right. Now, how does this happen? One sees very clearly if there is any division, separation between the layers of the deep down layers and the superficial layers, then there must be constant conflict. And apparently that's our life. Superficially we may be highly polished, because circumstances demanded, society, industrialization, this or that, that we should be more or less outwardly civilized. Civilized in the sense, not spit at each other actually, but deep down we do spit at each other. We do tear each other apart verbally and non-verbally. Bearing in mind that in this observation there is no naming, no verbal application to that which is seen, right? We're all following each other?
We examine that point because, say, a simple thing, we all accept that nationalism is easily perceived in this. But how, in fact, do we perceive nationalism in ourselves without the word, without naming it? What happens in the thinking?
Well, that's fairly simple, isn't it? Born in a particular culture, society, economic strata and so on, all the rest of it, nationalism, which is a form of tribalism, is deeply rooted in most people. Some tribalism, not right. Surely by becoming aware of it, one has the feeling for it, hasn't one? The feeling without the word. My country.
But that is in itself a word.
No, the feeling.
The concept arouses the feeling.
Look, is the feeling the result of the concept verbal idealization, or is the feeling my country separate from the word? You have to work this out.
But it's a concept in either case. It's either a feeling that one has on looking at the mountains or the flag, whatever it is. It is brought about by a concept, because there's no such thing as a country. It's a concept man-made. So isn't it a concept inevitably in that, in order to be aware of it at any level?
Madam, are you saying we are ruled by concepts? formulas. And one of the formulas is nationalism. Is there a feeling of nationalism without the formula? Is that what you're...
It's possible. It's possible to be directly conditioned without even knowing that you're being conditioned.
But then you have a concept going anyway.
Yes, you're still ruled by a concept.
Separate.
No, you wouldn't have a concept. You're just directly conditioned to feel
Which is the
something.
result of a
Well,
concept.
that's a layers of concepts, isn't it? I mean, the conditioning is a concept. If you are
Only if you
conditioned-
think about the conditioning, but you may be conditioned to have an emotional response, and all you have is the emotional response without any idea
But
connected
if you're
with it.
conditioned to it, doesn't that establish one or a multiplicity of concepts? What otherwise would condition you except?
It may be a band playing or a flag waving.
But there has to be, for a reaction in you, that must have some, say, association, which is a concept.
It's a response to a condition.
It's either you're frightened, somebody's going to
Is it
wipe
true?
Well,
you
you
out.
mean
But
if I
association-
respond to a band playing, that my perception of the band playing, you're saying that's a concept?
Yeah, the emotion.
Well,
Your
if you
reaction.
have an association to what they were playing or the band or whatever it is, that is something already established in your memory
Or else
as
you would
the
react.
band or whatever it's linked up with, whatever your chain of association is.
You think
Or you would react.
No, I
You
don't
never
have to
had a
have,
band
I don't
before.
have to be associating to a concept.
If
I
they
may
keep-
be,
Otherwise
may be
it's just
directly
music.
conditioned without any concept in it at all.
I mean, if you've never heard a band at all, the moment you heard it, you'd be conditioned by it.
I think that can happen.
But
Yeah.
by the time it reached your consciousness, wouldn't that have been conditioned?
By the time it reached your consciousness, would that have been the condition?
If it's a reaction to something, isn't that the same as conditioning? That the time element isn't necessarily intrinsic to conditioning. It can be awfully quick. I can make a face at you right now, and you can instantly be conditioned by that in a moment.
Yeah.
So it's the same process. I don't know. Is this the same?
I think you're all right, that's all. We are continuing the same way.
But is there a difference between perception of a so-called objective thing, such as the tree, and the moment we go into something like nationalism, which is an abstraction, aren't we immediately in a realm of concepts as opposed to?
Really, one can look at that tree non-verbally. Without the image of the tree which I've seen before, naming it and all the rest of it. To observe the tree without the word, that's comparatively easy if you have played with that thing. Now the nationalism is subjective, inward, and it is an idea, a formula. My country, my government, my people, my tribe, with its particular rituals, religion, and so on, so on, so on. All that is from childhood has conditioned me. I may outwardly wipe it away, but deep down it's still there. The formula still exists.
In other words, when you say you look at that formula without words, you can still look at your relationship to the concept, but you don't use words in looking at that relationship.
We are asking, sir, that's the whole point. We are asking an observation in which there is no verbalization or formulation.
But that doesn't mean you have to get rid of the word
No.
country.
Leave that for the moment. See it. as you can observe the tree without the formula, therefore in that there is no resistance, there is no division. And if you really have watched it very closely, the space between the observer and the thing observed disappears.
Sir, that may be true of a tree, but when one is looking...
Wait, sir. Do it, sir. Do it first with the tree. You will see what is implied in it. You won't go immediately to something a little more complex. Look at that tree, or any bush, or any flower, and see if it is possible, no, not possible, to see, observe without the formula, without space, without the word. And when you do so observe, watch the state of the mind that observes it. Not as you as an observer, but the mind itself watching the tree.
Are you then asking why once somebody has done this, why it is more difficult for somebody to observe nationalism?
I'm coming to that, sir. First, let's do this. See what is implied in it. An observation in which the formula doesn't exist, the formula being the past, the past with which one of the fragments of the me has identified itself as the observer, the sensor, the knower, the actor, the experiencer, and with those eyes of the past, I look at that tree. And so there is the tree separate from the observer. The observer, by watching without the word, doesn't become the tree, which would be absurd, but watches without any interference of thought. Thought being the response of memory, which is the past. Now, do it. See what happens. Then inquire into the state of the mind that watches it, that watching that tree with that quality. Now, if we can call that attention, in which the observer, with all its commitments, associations, is absent, that is fairly easy to do because it's unrelated to me. It won't interfere, it won't insult me, it won't hurt me, it won't butcher me, it won't do all kinds of things to me. But to observe the whole movement of myself in that way becomes incredibly difficult.
The moment you suggest observing one's observation of the tree, then I think at least many of us get in trouble, because immediately it becomes another thing. Remember, it was just the tree. And then suddenly it becomes, what is my action, what is my awareness, what is my observation, and that becomes a separate thing.
No, but you see what look, please do listen to this quite. If to observe the whole movement of myself is necessary for the learning of the me. Right? To learn about myself, which is essential because myself is the society, the world, the family, the wife. I am all that. To watch myself with the past is always either condemnatory or justifying, and therefore there is never an ending to conflict. I don't know if you're following all this. But to observe without the observer is to learn, which is not to accumulate. Because the thing which is being observed is in constant movement. Right? I can only observe very dispassionately, objectively, with something that's dead, which doesn't interfere, arouse various reactions in me. Is it this word, to observe without the reaction of the past? I don't know if you have tried all this or have done it. If you don't do this, conflict is inevitable, obviously. Because where there is an observer, separate from the thing observed, there is not only space, time, and all the reactions, and therefore division and conflict. This is simple. I have an image about my wife, and she has an image about me, which each of us have built through 20 years, 30 years, or 10 years, or 10 days. And the relationship is between these two images, and therefore conflict. Therefore, all relationship will inevitably breed conflict. Right? This is so. Everybody's silent. You're all much married, aren't you? I'm not, so it's all right. Now, these images, I have an image about myself, and I have an image about the world, and I have an image based on innumerable formulas of what should be. What was, what is, and what should be. I have so many images. All these images are me. Right? And these images invariably divide each other. Therefore, the conflict between each image is inevitable. That's one's way of living. Now, to find out a life in which there is no image and no conflict, that's what we are inquiring. As one can observe the tree dispassionately without naming and all that, and if you observe more attentively, the space also disappears. Really, it does disappear if you have ever played with that kind of thing. The space, which is the time interval between the observation and the contact, totally disappears. This also can be brought about through chemicals, LSD and other forms of chemical warfare. Which is artificial and on which one depends more and more, and then there is a great deal of fear and all that's involved. Now, one is asking oneself, it is one is asking an observation of oneself which is in constant movement without the time element, without the verbalization of what is seen, without the censor, the resistance and so on. So that between the observer and the observed, space disappears inwardly. I wonder if you got it.
I have a question, sir. Is that observation within the field of the known? I mean, is it, if you are observing at that level yourself, is that, well, that's the only way I can put it. Does it make any sense? Is it within the field of the known?
No, it's not, obviously. The known is the past. All knowledge is the past. One is adding all the time to the past. And one's life is the past. Huh? Isn't it? And the past modified in the present, the future, and so on, so on. Now, and to learn about oneself requires this quality of attention in which there is no distortion in observation, right? When there is an observation of condemnation, of the censor, of resistance, the resistance, condemnation, the censor is a distortion, right? And I learn about distortion. So one is asking oneself to observe without distortion.
You may want to ask if there isn't before the approbation or condemnation, which could be a sort of judgment, the second step. In the actual perception of what happens, is there an image in that? This is where at least I get wrong. How do we perceive?
How do you observe?
Say it's good or bad.
How do you observe with, I know, are you asking, is the very observation the product of the image?
Isn't there an image factor in that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. We do it. You'll find out if you do it.
So that was what my question was. That what I was asking before. Is it within the field of the known? If that immediate, that perception,
Yeah.
that has to be in the field of the known.
Am I looking, sir? It is. Am I looking at myself with an image which I have? The very look is the product of the image. Are you asking that?
I'm trying to ask what actually happens when we look. Now, if we look at an objective thing, surely an image goes through the optic nerve and so forth, and it either activates associations, knowledge, and so forth, which, as I understand it, you call the known, the image. And that is either brought into play in most of us, or if you are looking directly, you somehow perceive without activating all that. But when we look at something that hasn't that simple mechanism of an outward thing, it's an abstraction, I cannot seem to see how you can examine that.
No. The point is, then is there anything to be examined at all? As long as I have an image, then there is examination of another image. If there is no image at all, image being the sensor, the resistance, approbation, all the rest of it, what is there?
Then
It
there are
is.
no abstractions then.
And no, please do.
Apart from the person.
If I have no opinion about you, no opinion at all, what's our relationship? Or rather, what is the state of the mind that has no opinion? It is not a dull mind. It is not a vague mind. Anthropomorphic mind. It has seen the futility of opinions and is free of it. So such a mind can look much clearer than the mind that's cluttered up with dozens of opinions.
But in that example, there at least is an objective human being, you, somebody sitting there. Whereas if one tries to look at an abstraction, nationalism or any abstraction, there isn't in our realm of thinking, there isn't a thing, another thing, it is a concept. Therefore, I'm still hung up on how you examine a
I'll show you.
concept without
Wait.
fragmentation.
I'll show you. Why do we have concepts at all? Why do we have formulas at all? Do please. Why do you have them? There is God, there is no God, there is, the state is the most marvelous, etc. You know, dozens and dozens of formulas. Why? What's that? Well, I don't know. You don't guess at it. Find out. Why do we have formulas? As an American citizen, as a Hindu, Catholic, what for? And I said, look, living in Italy, if you're not a Catholic, belonging to the established order, you'll find it awfully difficult. You don't get jobs so easily. You can't marry your son or daughter or whatever it is. Things become extremely difficult. You may laugh at the church. You follow, sir? But the formula of a Catholic becomes very important. So you stick to it. It's profitable. So there is physical security on the one side and psychological security on the other. Formulas offer security. There is God. Finished. I believe in it. Or there is no God and I believe in it. Tremendous safety. But if you believe in no God, in a very believing community, then you're thrown out. So we have formulas, right? Are we aware of these formulas first? Not how to get rid of them. Is one aware of these formulas? We what?
Not if we're conditioned to. Not if we're conditioned to.
You can point it to me and say, look, you are conditioned by a belief as a Brahmin living in India with certain tradition. That's been repeated. I say you are perfect, right? I can throw them out. Not that I'll become a Catholic, I'll throw it all out. If I'm fairly intelligent or aware, I throw it all out. But the roots of it, the deep instinctual responses of the conditioning are still there. So Mike, we'll come back to that question. How to expose all the content of the layers. You haven't answered my question. You're the expert, sirs.
Could we perhaps look into the possibility of there being a root cause for all?
Of course, there is.
A singular root cause.
A singular root.
Would that make it simpler?
I know, not a question of simplicity.
Fear seems to be the root of almost all of it.
The one?
Fear. Just, you have all these concepts and formulas, and the reason you stick to them is to become very dependent on all of them.
All right, sir. I'm afraid. Take that. I'm afraid. And therefore I depend on a formula, on a friend, or on my wife, and so on. This dependence I call love and all the rest of it, right? There is fear behind it. Now, I can observe superficial fears and perhaps wipe them out. There are deeper layers of fear, very deep fears, of which I may be unconscious, not aware. Now, how do I bring it out? Until I bring it out, I'm living in darkness, you follow? I will depend on some formula, not on this particular formula, but on something else. How does the mind deeply root out fear?
So I noticed that in my own particular case, what generally is producing of this bringing out of the symbols or the sensor is that I divide the world up into the bits that I like and the bits that I don't like. And in order to get to the bits that I like, I have this symbolic universe that I have created in order to get to them. But that leaves the bits that I don't like on the other side. But I have a question which arises out of that, if I may. That is that there's no getting out of that, because we're sort of stuck in that, living in a society such as we have, and most of us work in some kind of technological area in which we spend most of our time, and in which we have to live in a symbolic universe, so to speak. Well, now my question is, how can one live in a symbolic universe, technological universe, think in a technological way in order to earn a livelihood and so on, and yet be aware of that process at the same time?
One has to earn a livelihood in the technological world, and also one has to live a life in which there is no fear. Right? Yes, that's what we are inquiring. We are saying deep down there are many fears. The releasing of these fears makes the mind obviously extraordinarily intelligent. And that intelligence will operate both in the technological field and yet not bring about fear. I don't know if... So that's why we have to inquire into this question whether fear can be totally be exposed right down at the very roots of our being. Go on, sir. I'm doing. Proceed. How does this happen?
My question before, or my statement before, with regard to a root cause, perhaps if we were to find the root cause of all fears.
We are coming to that, sir. We are coming to it. You will see it in a minute yourself.
Is there perhaps almost like a bottleneck in the procedure of which there is, say, a mass of unconscious fears and all the rest of the conditioning? But the moment when that operates, the moment when that enters your thinking, enters your action really, isn't that the moment when it can be dealt with? If, as you said yesterday, one cannot explore the endlessness of one's own unconscious.
Look, madam.
The moment that it comes up like a bubble to the surface, can't we deal with it then?
That means that one by one.
No, well, one by one in that every moment of living.
I have no time. That's too long. I want to get rid of the beastly thing altogether.
But would it be, would time be a factor in it at all if it were immediately?
Well, it might take a year for a certain feeling to rise up.
All right, but we
we'll find out. We're going to find out.
Sir, could it be that to really look at...
Don't get, sir. Don't guess.
No, I'm not guessing.
Because then we are lost.
But I notice that I keep escaping from looking at this thing, this root cause. The very thing that I escape from, as I'm looking at fear, I become afraid. And I'm not looking at that fear that keeps me from going deep down.
We're going to find out, sir.
It seems to me that fear has sort of a stigma attached to it, so that I can't look at it without condemning it. I mean, you follow? That seems to be the real problem.
Let's be more efficient and practical. You have fears, haven't you? Hmm? What do you mean by that, fear?
Resistance.
Huh?
Resistance.
What's that?
Resistance.
No. You see, don't verbalize it immediately. You have a fear.
Doesn't it mean, sir, that of a pair of opposites
No,
we
sir.
create, or a pair of alternatives, a polarity, we want one side, but we want to avoid the other. And in course of pursuing the one side, we have a fear that the other might have.
Yes, so that is, I understand all that. What is to you fear?
It seems to me that fear is the greatest insecurity.
Is it an abstraction?
It's an actual way of behaving.
Is it an abstraction or is it in relation to something?
It's relation to the unknown.
Known, unknown, future, past, present.
Is fear really
It is in relation to something, isn't it? It's not an abstraction by itself. Right? Now, in relation to what? Watch it. I just want to go slowly, a little bit slowly. I don't want to hold the feel by my, you can have your little second later. It is in relationship to something, right? The past, the future, job, no job, wife running, death, love, right? In relationship. Between what?
Myself?
No, don't look at it, sir. Between what?
We have our image of the world, and we have our image of ourselves. And the conflict that those images produce in us, the feeling, is fear.
My dear chap, just a minute. I'm asking you, move away from that corner. I'm asking you, when you are afraid, two things take place. You and the thing afraid of, the fear of something. These two, what is the relationship of these two?
Delusion.
The space.
Look at it, sir. Don't look at it a little more close. Take time, a little bit. I am afraid. Fear. Fear exists only in relationship to something. The relationship between two. Now, what are these two? Go. What are these two?
Afraid of the consequences.
One is permanent. Do you see it? One is permanent, the other is a relationship with the impermanent which might bring danger.
Could you say that again in another way?
I'm lost. Look, sir, I am afraid of the past. Fear of the past. Therefore, a relationship between something that is permanent, which is now, and something which has happened yesterday. Right?
I don't see how the permanent can be threatened by
sir,
the
do
impermanent.
look at it. I may be saying it wrongly. You find out. You followed? There is a division between yesterday and today. The today is afraid of yesterday. And the today is afraid of tomorrow. Today has compared itself with the past, which says, I don't like it. It's tremendously dangerous, that I was unhealthy, painful, had pain. Today I don't like it. Today doesn't like yesterday. So today is more important than yesterday.
It
Right?
seems to more that there is no today.
Wait, that's a theory, sir.
No, sir.
Do look what is taking place. I wish you would go slowly. You're not. So today is judging the past. The relationship is between today and yesterday. Today is, let's call it for the moment, permanent. Today is the only thing that matters because I'm unhurt at this moment. At this moment, I'm healthy. At this moment, I haven't lost a job. At this moment, my wife hasn't turned away from me. At this moment, I believe. This moment, in relation to the past, says there is fear. Obviously, this is simple. No?
Or tomorrow,
Huh?
or tomorrow, you said. Or tomorrow, fear of tomorrow.
Of course, of course.
The fear isn't actually the future because you can't fear something that's right now. You have to fear it happening.
So today, in relation to the future, tomorrow is afraid. Today, in relationship to yesterday, is afraid. Comparing today, perfect health, perfect happiness. I'm living. Yesterday, I wasn't living. I did something terrible. I mustn't happen again. I'm afraid of it. You know, all that business. Right? No, don't accept this, please. Right, sir?
Can we pause for 5 minutes?
Yes, sir. So can we say that the comparison the comparison between today and yesterday and tomorrow, comparison is fear. Right?
Can't one be afraid of today?
No, you will see them in. Don't ask. See what we do, what is happening in oneself. If there were, this word, comparison has done this. Yesterday I was unhappy, today I'm happy. Yesterday I was not healthy, pain, today I'm all right. For God's sake, it mustn't happen again tomorrow. I'm afraid of tomorrow. This comparison between what is with what has been and what will be is the process of fear. Right? Now, can the mind be free of comparison?
To be free of comparison, you would have to be free of thought.
No, wait, don't complicate it. So look, investigate, see the problem involved in it. How difficult it is to be free of comparison, because we are brought up from childhood, conditioned to compare. You are clever, I am not. You are better marks than I am. You are the, I'm the lowest in the grade, you are the highest in the A grade, A, B, C. You follow? We are conditioned from childhood to compare.
And the comparison is conceptual.
No, first see how we compare, not what it does. This is a better car than that. You are more beautiful than I. This is better cream for your face than this. Everything is comparison. Better writer, better critic, more money, you follow? So comparison. And one's whole life is based on this, it's conditioned by this. So I'm asking, fear exists as long as there is this comparative look. And comparative look exists as long as there's a measure. Huh? Right? Measure means measure according to one's like and dislike, which is an illusion. You're getting all this? No, sir.
Is it always according to like and dislike?
Huh?
For instance, if I have to do a task, if I have to open a can of beans, if I fail to do it, doesn't it occur to me that I'm being stupid about it, that I'm doing something wrong? Is that comparison?
No, please compare, please stick to this thing. I compare this two materials for a shirt. And I'd say I like this, but there is no conflict in that. There is no fear in that. But when you come along and say that shirt looks terribly ugly on your boy, and then you say, by Joe, all the rest of it begins. Now, here I see very clearly, please don't agree with me, this requires a great deal of penetration, that fear exists as long as there is comparative outlook, comparative observation between today and yesterday and tomorrow. So today is the measure of yesterday and tomorrow. Right? Right? Why does the mind have this measure? Because mind must be completely free from fear. Otherwise it's dead mind. Right? Otherwise one lives in darkness, struggle, all the rest of fear is Moment there is fear, one seeks security in belief, in this or that, in neuroticism, in different ways of. So fear is absolute blockage to life. And mind must be totally be free of it. Now, I see comparison. So there is a measure. The measure is the permanent. Right? I'll vary it. I'll cut it into a long measure, or short measure, but there will always be a measure. And that's the cause of fear. My measure may be an inch long and yours may be a yard long, but it's still a measure. Am I overpowering you? Or, no, please.
Isn't it necessary to shift your attention away from the fear to the comparison?
No.
That's what
Who is to shift it? Don't be caught in that again. I see the simple fact that as long as there is a comparative outlook, there must be fear. Let's hold on to that. The comparative outlook being today is so important because today I feel well. There's no danger. I've got still my job. My wife is still with me. There is no war. There is no beautiful day. Sunday.
But even if she left, it's still a beautiful day.
What?
Even if she left, it's still a beautiful day.
No. If then it's day becomes dark. I'm depressed. I'm lonely. I'm lack companionship. I'm nobody to bully me, or I bully. I know, all the whole business. So the measure is today. See, sir, what's leading to, right? The measure is the state of my mind of today. Today, nobody had discovered the lie or the thing which I had done yesterday. They might discover it tomorrow, I'm afraid. So, today. Right, sir? Are you sure? Don't agree with this, please.
No, I'm not sure about this. Because if I really compare an action with something that I did yesterday, say for instance, yesterday I gossiped about my neighbor, and today I was in a situation where I could gossip, but I didn't. And so I learned.
Wait, see what you have what has happened. Yesterday you gossiped about your neighbor. And if the neighbor gets to hear of it and says you are another, you're afraid of that.
No, I'm not afraid, because today I learned that I did not have to gossip about my neighbors.
Yes, but you have done it. But you have done it.
I did.
Therefore, the neighbor hears it today, and therefore comes back to you and says, "What the hell you mean by it?" So you're afraid.
No,
you might have learned.
I would be afraid if I were totally aware of what I had done yesterday, and that is comparing.
No, if you have learned not to gossip. But you have gossip that will hurt you. And you hope your neighbor won't hear of it.
But if you change your behavior, then maybe you're not afraid. If you really change your behavior.
What, sir?
If you change your behavior, why would you be afraid? Because you feel free.
Today I've changed my behavior, right?
Yes.
But I've done something wrong yesterday. I hit you yesterday.
It isn't wrong if you learn. If you learn something.
I don't know.
You're so, aren't we, when we say
no,
that,
look what is. Look what has happened.
We're associating what we are right now with what we were before. There it is. And if you don't associate it, You're through with it. You're through with it.
If that is, if you say, I'm sorry, I'm finished, I will never again gossip.
No, well,
Wait. That is to learn completely about gossip. You will never gossip. And when the lady comes back or neighbor comes back and says, what the devil do you mean by it? I said, I'm awfully sorry I did it. It's finished. There's no fear in that. If you are finished.
But that's because what we saw, what we did yesterday, we think that's permanent. That's us today and it'll be us tomorrow. But
Yes,
that's
sir,
not
yes,
true.
sir, yes, sir. But if I...
Because we're not, I'm not what I was
But if
yesterday.
you have learned, why isn't it true?
If you're not a gossip, what I'm saying, they're coming back and saying you're a gossip.
You're not listening.
Yes.
No.
Okay, go ahead. What?
If you have learned, why isn't it true?
It is true what you were yesterday. The fact is there, but what they're coming back at you saying, look it, you did this to me yesterday. That you is a spirit now. It's that you is.
Yes, sir, but you've taken my money away yesterday. Huh?
They can punish you. They can take this physical thing.
Wait, what we are saying is fear. Not they can do this or that. Fear. Fear exists if I haven't finished with yesterday. And I cannot finish with yesterday as long as I'm comparing with everything with the present to yesterday. That's all. If I have finished with yesterday, all right, sir, what can you do? I've done it, I've done it. But as long as I have comparative evaluation, there will be always fear.
But what she was saying, no, wait.
Right,
What you were saying was you were looking at that you can forget the action was done. It was done, and we're trying to be secure. We're trying to say if we don't gossip today, no one will come back tomorrow and say that we didn't gossip 10 years ago when we were gossiping, when we were. There's no security in that. You can't say that somebody isn't going to come and punish you or whatever you want for you. We don't know. They could come back. The neighbor could come back.
Security. You have learned nothing. You want some contract, some guarantee.
No, I'm saying what you're saying. I'm saying if we're worried, we're worrying about it. We don't know. The fact is we don't know if someone will come back if we've gossiped before.
It doesn't matter if you have
That's
really
right.
learned.
That's right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Wonderful. Let's go.
That is, to die to yesterday each day. Then there is no comparison. And therefore no fear. Right?
And therefore, love.
We come, wait, sir, not therefore. So fear, we are discussing, we're trying to understand if it is, whether the mind can be completely be rid of fear. Not rid, understand fear and once and for all never be afraid. Dying each day to every day, right? So that there is no comparison.
once said that if you are in the process of a terminal, we all die, and you will be watching to see whether hidden fears arose.
Now we are doing this now. Wait, sir. When there is no comparison at all, except in technical things, not psychological things, where is fear then? So we go back to the word, to the verb to be. The verb to be has conditioned us so deeply. Idea of achieving, becoming, reaching, right? So, with that verb goes also comparative evaluation. I was yesterday unhappy. I am happy today. I'll be happy. I hope to God I'll be happy tomorrow. And tomorrow is so uncertain, therefore I'm afraid. So I'm asking myself whether the mind can observe without comparison. Myself with another, myself with, comparison. You try it. Do it and you'll see that one can live completely that way. And therefore much more alive, more efficient, more direct, more energy.
So may I cite a personal experience here on this point? I have tried, and I find that the stumbling block is technological work, because there seems to come a conflict between non-comparison, non-bringing up of yesterday, this awareness of now, in trite terms, and having to work in a symbolic sort of job. It seems that in order I can't do them together. I either have to just be inefficient in work, or I have to live a kind of schizoid existence.
No, sir.
One now, one now.
We said this. We go back to the same problem. We said the mind that is no fear can work in the technological field efficiently because it is an intelligent mind. No, this is. Now, please go on, sir. Now, how deeply is this comparison rooted? That will come back to the same problem. What's that?
Something in me tells me to survive.
Is survival a matter of comparison?
I think so. I think they are related. I think if I don't have this command to survive, I have
Is
no
survival, sir, is survival a matter of comparison?
I think the mind thinks that way.
Please just look at it. I survive because I compare.
I think I compare because I need to survive. Something tells me to survive, to thrive.
To survive, one must compare.
What my mind has done is taken the physical world, the technical world, I'm comparing it's hotter, better, colder, so forth.
That's a different thing.
Okay, but on top of that, I've created an image of myself, my ego, whatever. And I take the same processes that work down here and I make them work up here. And I say, I have to protect this just like I do my body, and therefore I compare, make images and so forth.
Therefore, we are living in everlasting fear.
That's right, but they seem to be piled on top of
See,
it. I can't
obviously,
make
sir,
this
obviously, the same mechanism is carried over.
Right.
Is survival, I mean, comparison necessary to survive? Or because we have compared and thinking that it's necessary to survive, using comparison as survival, has brought about danger of non-survival. America is stronger than Russia. India is stronger than some other beast little country. And so on. Divide, 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 which is destroying us. The very demand for survival through comparison, I'm stronger than you, is destroying us. Therefore, it is not giving us survival. No. It's not helping us to survive.
I think he's talking about success as compared with survival.
Success. That's one of those awful words.
But
I think I would have no fear at all if I did not, something didn't tell me to survive.
You mean survival you are equating with success, are you, sir?
No, I don't. Success is a separate issue for me. But something says survive, thrive, something within.
What do you mean survive? You are surviving.
I mean,
Yes.
physically or psychologically?
And that's the origin of my fear. If I were not afraid to die, I would have no other fears.
I mean, sir, look. Afraid to die.
Yes.
What does that mean? You are living. Tomorrow may something happen, and you will die. Not, I mean, therefore you are afraid. Which means compare. So
Yes.
So can the mind observe without comparison? So try, do it and you will see it.
Can that,
Which means no hero, no principle, no formula, no ideal. You follow, sir?
No values.
No tomorrow. Try it, you'll see. Do it, you'll see what extraordinary thing it happens. No factor of comparison. Therefore, if there is no comparison, what is evil and good? I mustn't enter it. That's too different. You follow, sir? What is virtue? We only know virtue through comparison. Right? If the mind is free of comparison, altogether therefore fear, what is virtue?
I have a question. I'm not sure how to ask it clearly. I'm wondering if one can innocently approach a technical problem. That is, if one may have a clear mind without comparison.
Then you are learning about the technical thing each day that you're doing.
Yeah, but now let's say here's a mushroom, and I'll either eat it or I won't eat it. Now I have to compare.
I said, we said that, of course, otherwise you'll be killed.
Right, right. So at the technical level,
We said
I
that.
can do the comparing.
Absolutely, I must compare. Otherwise, I'll be.
You know, a mile is further than a yard.
No, this is very interesting. Is there a virtue at all in the ordinary accepted sense of that word when there is no fear and therefore no comparison? Or rather, when there is no comparison, therefore no fear.
No good or bad at all?
And don't. There is obviously good. I mean, don't. You see, the moment we'll meet again Sunday, next Saturday. We'll thrash this out. No, we mustn't leave it. We must go into this whether fear, comparison, so deeply rooted, is it to expose it completely and be free of it? Otherwise, fear must exist. Is that exposure, does that exposure take place through dreams? With all the complications of dreams and the analysis of dreams, though the analysis may take place while you are dreaming, all that implies gradualness, and therefore time, and therefore fear, not achieving. So, yes, have you got it? So, is understanding a matter of time? Or are seeing the truth or the falseness of this of fear, comparison, seeing it, the truth of it, the understanding of it, is it a matter of time? If I understand it, I've understood the whole structure of the unconscious. Right?